Hello. Um, Today I'm a photojournalist, and I believe that seeing for yourself is your best proof, evidence, and best way to be convinced about something, or to even form an opinion or a point of view about any matter. I'm not a politician, but I'm a Palestinian, and that means that I grew up with politics around me all through my life. And for that, it's mission impossible to be neutral. That's why I chose photography to speak louder than my voice, and for the people internationally to see what I see on a daily basis in Gaza. Through the last war, last July 2014, Palestinians and Gazans became speechless once again, facing an Israeli aggression against them and an Israeli war that was launched against Gaza. Therefore, I'm going to show you some photos today. I'll explain a little bit about it, and hopefully you'll be able to think for yourself after seeing this. This was the very first days in Gaza. It's to the east of Gaza City, not far away from the heart of the city. And this photo is for a house that was not directly targeted. This was the aftermath of the house after the neighbor's house got targeted. As a photojournalist, I see we miss a lot of angles and concepts through our coverage at every war, invasion, airstrike that we cover. One of the most important ones are the layers that goes under the everyday headlines, under the explosive headlines that you get on news wires, on international agencies' websites as well. This young boy in the background, his name is Mustafa, and he's almost 6 years old in the photo. He was born during the first war of Gaza, and he was diagnosed with autism. Since then, he witnessed another war that was the second war in Gaza in 2012. And this is his third war in Gaza, where his house was severely damaged, as you can see. His sister was explaining to me how by every airstrike, every time that he would hear explosions happening, every time he would witness anything happening in the area, whether it was an airstrike, invasion, just a normal everyday assassination operation, or as you see the start of war, he would have less to say. And by less to say, for an autistic kid, that means 5 words a day go to 3, and 3 goes to 1, and 1 goes to silence. This is Al-Sheikh Ridwan neighborhood. It's a very residential, crowded residential area. It was targeted with absolutely no reason, as every time it would be targeted. This time, it's the whole compound got damaged because of targeting one building that you will see shortly. This was the aftermath on the neighbors' buildings after the one on the other side that you can see now was targeted with what they call it, a rocket that is launched for direction. It gives direction in the F-16. They call it a warning, like knock on the roof technique. They call it a warning technique, so they would warn the people to get out just in case they didn't hear the phone ring when they called them, or they didn't have enough time. So they give them enough time by targeting their house with a smaller rocket. That rocket, what they don't announce is that rocket is as deadly as the F-16, only that the F-16 would flatten the whole place to the ground and affect the neighbors' houses, but it's still as deadly as the F-16. It does cause death, of course, and it can kill a whole family, as you will see in the following photos, at once. By the very first week of the war, most of us were in denial, and I'm just speaking from a personal angle, from personal experience. Most of us thought this is just an operation, an escalation, nothing is going to happen. It had only been 1 year and a half. We have a 3 years date, not a 1 year and a half. So that's the very disturbing mentality that Gazans got pushed into, where we can't actually accept the fact that we're getting targeted again without a warning at this point, without a good excuse. Gaza turned into this abused woman that was told it's her fault for so long that we actually started to accept the fact that this is what I did wrong. So even though the rockets did not start 68 years ago or 67 years ago, when the occupation started, we still believe, okay, if a rocket gets launched and targeted Israel, we're going to have something bad. At this point, no rockets were launched for almost a year, and we still had the third war. In this photo, this mother, it was a funeral for 5 young guys. They were friends meeting after iftar. It was Ramadan back then, and they were meeting after iftar. And to us, it was one more funeral that we are warming up and starting to cover. To her, it was her third son who gets targeted in the exact same way. Not a militant, he was 19, and he was just meeting a friend of his. And that's when an assassination operation took place. The car got targeted, 5 people got killed, no names, no big names, no militants, no personality that got assassinated, declared or announced by the Israeli military. In this photo, it was a militant, but he was a security guard kind of militant. He was securing a compound that is supposed to be a police compound. The airstrike took place. He and his colleague got killed. A sister of a murderer, as we call it, she is from the same family as you saw previously. This was the house that got targeted, and because of it, the whole neighborhood in Sheikh Ridwan area got damaged. And this was known on the media afterwards as dollhouse. It was colored beautifully. And as you see, the damage is so severe that it's hard to just rebuild parts of it. Most likely it's going to be turned down, all of it. This guy, his name is Iyad. He was a newlywed waiting for his first baby, the baby's room. All got damaged. This family is from Al-Salatin area. It's up to the north of Gaza, northern Gaza. Al-Salatin area is very known that every time there's an invasion, any kind of military escalation, it gets the warnings in flyers, in the form of flyers, thrown on the houses of civilians, telling them by the Israeli military to leave to avoid getting killed. The thing is, these people left 3 times before, and every time there's an invasion, that they ran out of options, they started to camp at the UNRWA schools, and that's where they actually suffered from several incidents where the military targeted the schools as well. This is how it looks after an F-16 targets a place. This house was targeted by a 1 rocket of F-16, and as you can see, there's absolutely no way to see anything left of the house. This was from the very first week, so they had the whole technique of 5 minutes call, where they give the family 5 minutes to evacuate. Nothing can be taken from the house, of course. And again, this is just the destruction of your neighbors or the neighbor of your neighbor house getting targeted. This was a very challenging day that kind of had a remarkable, tragic mark on my career and my personal life. This is the family of Kawara. It's Kawara family, 9 members wiped off the face of earth by the warning rocket that was targeted their house, that was launched by the Israeli warplanes. They had nothing to do with any political movements. They just happened to be living in the southern areas of Gaza Strip, which that day was under heavily fire from warplanes. This lady is Muhammad. She's like the oldest lady in the family. She's the grandmother. She actually was expecting her brother to be visiting them that day. Few minutes before they start preparing the iftar meal, which is like when we break our fast through Ramadan, they started doing that, and a phone call came. The phone rang. It's a family house, so it's divided between 3 different areas. Everyone is connected to the other with one room or like a hallway, but they are 3 different houses, almost like no space between them. So one of the houses got the phone call. They had 1 minute to evacuate. They were not able to let the others know. In her case, she was expecting her brother. She could have called her brother, but when the first warning rocket targeted the place, she forgot. She was under the traumatizing effect of an airstrike, and she forgot about that. So her brother happened to come by the time of the second rocket, which is the F-16. So he got killed on the spot. It was severely damaged, but that wasn't the highlight of the operation or whatever happened there. The biggest catastrophe was that 9 members were in one room. All of them got killed on the spot. Almost 5 of them were children. Never again is supposed to be a symbolic phrase that people repeat whenever they experience tragic events or tragic catastrophes as war or any man-made disasters from that same aspect. In Gaza, never again is more of a very desperate prayer that we make. So in this war, it was not never again in the attitude of resilience or resistance. It was more of God, please, never again. That day of the whole targeting of Kawara family's house, it was a long day, and for me personally, maybe that doesn't, I wouldn't say that on my website, but I'm a mother of 2. And as a Palestinian, I have to cover the conflict. It's a must, it's part of my obligation. I feel very committed to that. As a mother, I want to secure my kids and make sure that they are safe and sound. That day, I came back from covering the massacre, and I wanted to kiss my kids goodnight. I'm a horrible mother at that. I'm never there for the bedtime story. One more night that my mother actually tucked them in bed. That day, I wanted to go to this is my youngest daughter. Her name is Latine. She was 1 year and a half. I went to her room, wanted to kiss her goodnight. The electricity was off, which is a whole different thing that we have to suffer from and go through, is that the electricity, the power is out for 8 hours per day. During war, we expect that to be a luxury if we get 8 hours per day, that's amazing. We actually barely see the electricity for 2 hours or 1 hour, sometimes never through the day. Instead of kissing her goodnight, I found her pillow and blanket covered with blood. It was a very brief moment, but it felt like it lasted a whole lifetime. I looked carefully and I couldn't find her. I was checking the whole room by my phone flashlight, and she was on the other side of the bed. At that moment, I could swear that I thought every single mother I saw saying goodbye for her baby during a funeral, and they thought it's karma. I deserve it. I've been there. I've always covered babies being taken away from their mothers, putting them in a grave, a cold grave, and saying goodbye. And that's my turn. Palestinian, it's obviously a must, part of our heritage. So blood was gushing out of her mouth, and obviously she was still there. As a mother, motherhood instinct kicked in, and they just wanted a button to undo whatever was happening. I took my daughter, I jumped into the shower, and I poured cold water on her. I just wanted to stop seeing blood on her face. And ironically, thank God, that actually worked. She started crying. It was a relief. I knew she was still there as long as she's crying. Minutes after, she started to turn blue. No hospitals were allowed or possibly for them to take her in because she was suffering from something internally. They could not see. She was not injured from any any part of her body that you can actually see and say, okay, she's bleeding because of this. What happened that day is my very safe place and my very safe neighborhood got targeted with 5, what do we call it, oxygen bombs. And what these kind of bombs do, it's not the technical name, but that's like the name we have about it, is that they suck out the oxygen from the building, that it would collapse in a blink of an eye. And it doesn't, it's very, it's illegal to use it. It's along with 1 million kind of weapons that are being used in Gaza. And her body could not, following afterwards, we knew that her body could not take the pressure as a baby. She just started bleeding from the inside. We were not able to evacuate her immediately. She was not able to get the medical attention that she needed. It took us a week to do so. Ironically, again, because my daughter is a U.S. citizen, she was privileged to live, to have a second chance to even dare and live. A lot of kids did not have that chance. I know for sure that a lot of my friends' kids did not even have a chance to be examined properly to see what happened to them in so many incidents that happened all through the war. Latine was admitted in the hospital here in the U.S. 2 weeks after. That's her voice. And her bleeding turned into an infection. The infection turned into a tumor, and it took us almost 3 to 4 months to be able to breathe and make sure that she's not going to slip away. My personal experience is not supposed to reflect on all the Palestinians in Gaza, but it's actually supposed to give you a small peek to what it is to be a Palestinian and privileged to have any additional nationality. I can't imagine if she was just Palestinian, what her chances in having a decent life would be. And that, as a mother, as a Palestinian, as a human being, makes me feel it's outrageous. With this, that was the very last thing I saw from Gaza. I was not able to go back. And I was in a position that I had to make such a hard choice, where I put down my cameras, picked up my daughter, and evacuated.